about Covey is that he doesn't just give you like a quick fix or a hack.
Right.
He actually provides like a framework for a complete shift in thinking.
Okay.
And it's not just about going from dependent to independent. It's about recognizing that ultimate effectiveness actually comes from interdependence.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Which is a concept we'll unpack as we go deeper.
Okay, so tell me, where does this idea of effectiveness fit into the bigger picture?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because I remember the goose and the golden egg analogy from the book.
Absolutely.
And it really got me thinking.
Oh, I love that analogy. It's key. It highlights the difference between just going for like a short-term win versus sustainable success, right? So imagine you only care about getting golden eggs. You might be tempted to exploit the goose, overwork it, maybe even kill it to get all the eggs at once.
Right.
But then what? You've destroyed the very source of your success.
Douche that hit home.
Right.
I can think of a few times when I've been so focused on the eggs that I've totally neglected the goose.
Exactly.
You know, my health, my relationships, even my own, like,
Creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So is Covey saying that, like, true effectiveness is about nurturing the source of those results?
Spot on. You got it. That's exactly it. And that's where the 7 habits come in.
Okay.
They provide a practical step-by-step approach to not just achieving goals, but building a sustainable system for success in every area of life, from your personal growth to your relationships at work and at home.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's get into it.
All right, let's do it.
Habit 1, be proactive.
Yes.
Now, this one always felt kind of obvious to me at first glance.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it more deeply, and it's actually...
It's pretty radical.
Yeah.
Right. It's more than just taking initiative. Covey challenges us to like change how we see problems altogether, you know? Remember that distinction between the circle of concern and the circle of influence?
Yes.
We spend so much energy worrying about things we can't control, the weather, politics, other people's opinions. But true power comes from focusing on what we can influence. Our own actions, our attitude, our response to any given situation.
Oh, that reminds me of the story about Viktor Frankl.
Yes.
That really resonated with me. Here's a man imprisoned in a concentration camp during the Holocaust.
Right.
Facing unimaginable suffering.
Yeah.
Yet he finds a way to choose his response.
Powerful.
To maintain his sense of inner freedom.
That's the essence of proactivity, you know? It's not about denying the reality of difficult situations. It's about recognizing that even in the darkest of times, we have the power to choose our inner state, our attitude.
Okay.
And that makes all the difference. It's like that quote, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
Okay, now that's an aha moment.
Right.
And there are even smaller, like, everyday examples.
Oh, for sure.
Like the way we use language.
Yeah.
I catch myself saying, I have to, all the time.
All the time.
I have to go to this meeting.
Yep.
I have to finish this report. But Covey would say, reframe that.
Reframe it.
I choose to attend this meeting because...
Exactly.
Or I will complete this report by.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift, but changing I have to I choose to puts you in the driver's seat.
Yes.
Suddenly you're not a victim of circumstance. You're making a conscious choice, and that changes everything.
Okay.
It's empowering.
I'm feeling more empowered already. Okay, so we've laid the foundation with proactivity.
Right.
Now, where does habit 2 begin with the end in mind fit into all of this?
This habit builds upon the foundation of proactivity by saying, okay, you're in control, you're making choices, but what are you choosing for? It's about having a vision, a clear picture of your destination before you start taking those proactive steps.
Okay.
Think of it like building a house.
Right here.
You don't just start laying bricks randomly hoping it turns into something.
Right.
You create a blueprint first, a detailed plan that guides the entire construction process.
And this blueprint isn't just for, you know, concrete things like career goals or financial targets.
Right.
It's about your values, your deepest desires,
Really.
the kind of person you want to be.
Precisely. One of the examples from Covey's book that really stuck with me is the story of a man who realized he was living his life based on other people's expectations.
Oh, wow.
He'd achieved what others considered success, you know, a high-paying job, a big house.
Yeah.
But he felt empty and unfulfilled. And he finally sat down and wrote his own personal mission statement, articulating what truly mattered to him. Authenticity, creativity, connection.
Yep.
That became his blueprint, and it changed everything. He made some radical life changes, quit his job, move to a new city. And even though it was scary, he felt more aligned with his true self than ever before.
That's powerful.
Right.
It reminds us that success isn't one size fits all.
Totally.
It's about defining what success means to you.
Yeah.
And building your life around that.
Absolutely.
But how does this all connect to leadership?
Ooh, good question.
Because I remember Covey talking about personal leadership.
Yes.
And not being a function of our feelings.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting. He argues that true leadership starts from within.
Okay.
It's about being proactive and designing your life rather than just reacting to whatever comes your way. It's about choosing your values and living in accordance with them, even when it's hard.
Okay, that's a great lead-in to habit 3, but first things first. This is where we tackle the age-old struggle of time management, right?
It's more than just managing time. It's about managing ourselves in relation to time.
Okay.
Remember the time management matrix?
Yes, yeah.
It helps us prioritize our actions based on urgency and importance, and it's all about spending more time in quadrant 2, activities that are not urgent but important.
This is where I personally struggle.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the urgent stuff.
Totally.
Emails, deadlines, putting out fires. That I neglect the important but not urgent things like long-term planning, relationship building, even just taking time for self-care.
That's a classic struggle.
How do we actually make that shift?
It starts with recognizing that if we don't schedule time for quadrant 2 activities, they simply won't happen.
Okay.
It's like that story Covey tells about the father who is teaching his son about responsibility by giving him the task of maintaining their yard. At first, the son is overwhelmed and frustrated because all he sees are urgent tasks.
Right.
Mowing the lawn, weeding, watering. The father guides him to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The importance of fertilizing the soil, pruning the trees, taking care of the tools.
So it's about making time for those things that ensure long-term growth and well-being.
Exactly.
Even if they don't feel urgent in the moment.
Exactly. And it takes discipline.
Okay.
But think about it. Those quadrant 2 activities are the ones that ultimately lead to the golden eggs.
Right.
Stronger relationships, better health, a more fulfilling life. It's about playing the long game.
Okay, so we've talked about being proactive,
Yes.
defining our goals, prioritizing our time. Where do we go from here?
Well, all this focus on personal effectiveness has been about me, right? But what about we? That's where the next set of habits comes in, starting with habit 4. Think win-win.
Okay.
This is where we enter the realm of interdependence, of recognizing that our greatest achievements often come from collaborating effectively with others.
Okay.
And it all starts with a fundamental shift in mindset.
Right.
Moving away from seeing life as a zero-sum game.
Okay, I'm ready to hear about this win-win approach.
Okay.
But it sounds a bit idealistic, though, doesn't it?
I hear that a lot.
Like, what if you're dealing with someone
Yeah.
who's determined to win at all costs?
Right.
How can you possibly
Yeah.
create a win-win situation
Yeah.
when the other person isn't playing by the same rules?
That's a great question. And that's where the nuances of win-win thinking become crucial.
Okay.
Remember those 6 paradigms of human interaction Covey outlines? Win-win is just one of them.
Okay.
And it's not always the appropriate approach. Sometimes you might need to compromise
Right.
or even walk away from a situation if a mutually beneficial outcome isn't possible.
I see.
But the point is to approach every interaction with the intention of finding a solution that benefits everyone involved, and that often requires a healthy dose of creativity and empathy.
Okay. So it's not about being a pushover
Right.
or letting people walk all over you.
Exactly.
It's about seeking solutions
Yes.
where everyone feels like they've gained something, even if it's not exactly
Yeah.
what they initially set out to achieve.
Exactly. And that's where Covey's concept of the emotional bank account comes in.
Okay.
Think of it like a metaphorical bank account where every interaction either deposits or withdraws trust.
Wait, so explain that a little more.
Oh, okay.
I'm picturing dollar bills flying in and out of a piggy bank.
Oh, not quite.
Yeah.
It's more about building a reservoir of goodwill and understanding.
Okay.
Actions like keeping commitments, being respectful, and seeking mutual benefit are like deposits. They build trust and strengthen the relationship. On the other hand, breaking promises, being disrespectful, or thinking only of yourself, those are withdrawals that deplete that trust.
That makes so much sense.
Right.
It's like if I consistently make deposits in my relationship
Yes.
by being trustworthy and considerate,
Mm-hmm.
then when conflicts arise,
Yeah.
there's already a buffer of goodwill there.
Right. You've built up a reserve
Right.
that allows you to weather those inevitable storms.
It makes it easier to work through those tough spots without completely derailing the relationship.
Exactly.
Okay, this emotional bank account idea is brilliant.
It's a good one.
It makes those abstract concepts like trust and respect feel so much more tangible.
That's Covey for you.
Yeah.
He takes these complex ideas and makes them practical and applicable to everyday life.
So we're building trust.
Yes.
We're seeking win-win solutions. What's the next step in mastering this whole interdependence thing?
Well, you can't have genuine collaboration without first understanding the other person's perspective, right?
Ah.
And that's where habit 5 comes in. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Okay.
This one is all about empathetic listening, which is so much more than just hearing words.
Right.
It's about truly understanding the other person's feelings, their needs, their worldview.
This is where I know I need to improve.
Oh, really?
I'm such a good listener
Okay.
when it's my turn to talk.
Ah.
But Covey would say,
I see.
I'm probably falling into the trap of autobiographical listening.
Ah, yes, the classic trap.
Right.
It's when we filter everything through our own experiences.
Yes.
We're so busy formulating our response, offering advice, or judging the other person that we miss the deeper meaning behind what they're saying.
I'm so guilty of that.
Oh, yeah, we all do it.
But what's the alternative? How do we shift from autobiographical listening to empathetic listening?
It takes conscious effort and a willingness to quiet our own inner chatter.
Okay.
It's about truly focusing on the other person, not just their words, but their body language, their tone of voice, their unspoken emotions.
Okay.
It's about mirroring back what you hear, reflecting their feelings, and validating their experience.
You know, that reminds me of that story Covey tells about
Yeah.
the father and son who are having a conversation about school.
Oh, yeah.
The father's trying to offer solutions, but the son just isn't receptive.
Right.
It's only when the father stops talking
Yes.
and truly listens with empathy
Yes.
that he discovers the son's real struggle.
Wow.
He's having trouble reading.
That story perfectly illustrates the transformative power of empathetic listening.
Wow.
It's not about fixing the problem or offering advice. It's
Ooh.
about creating a safe space for the other person to feel heard, understood, and validated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the foundation for true connection and collaboration.
This is making me think about all those times
Yeah.
I've jumped in with solutions before truly understanding the problem.
Yeah.
No wonder people haven't always been receptive.
It's a common mistake, but the good news is that empathetic listening is a skill you can develop with practice.
Okay, good.
And the rewards are immense. It strengthens relationships, fosters trust, and opens the door to creative problem solving.
All right, adding practice empathetic listening to my to-do list.
Love it.
Now, I'm curious about how all of this ties into habit 6, Synergize.
Okay, what is synergy?
Synergy is where the magic of interdependence really shines. Think of it as the 1 + 1 3 equation.
When two or more people come together with a shared goal, a willingness to understand each other, and a genuine desire to find the best possible solution, something incredible happens.
Okay.
The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts.
So it's not just about brainstorming or working alongside each other.
Right.
It's about creating a dynamic where everyone's unique talents and perspectives combine to create something
Yes.
truly innovative and extraordinary.
Precisely. Remember that couple Covey uses as an example.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to decide whether to visit a sick relative.
Right.
But they have conflicting priorities.
Okay.
Through win-win thinking and empathetic listening,
Yeah.
they come up with a solution that not only satisfies both of their needs, but also strengthens their relationship in the process.
Okay, that's a great example.
Right.
It shows that synergy isn't just about
Yes.
coming up with good ideas.
Right.
It's about leveraging those ideas in a way that benefits everyone involved.
And it's about recognizing that everyone sees the world through their own unique lens.
Yes.
When we value those differences and embrace the power of collaboration,
Yeah.
we tap into a wellspring of creativity and innovation.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. Proactivity, vision, prioritizing, win-win thinking, empathetic listening, synergy.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in. But
Yeah.
before we get overwhelmed,
Right.
let's talk about habit 7, sharpen the saw.
Okay.
This one seems to be all about self-care,
Yes.
making sure we're taking care of ourselves
Uh-huh.
so we can keep showing up as our best selves.
That's exactly it. It's the habit that sustains all the others.
Okay.
Think of it as the foundation for a sustainable and fulfilling life.
Okay.
Covey uses the analogy of a lumberjack who is trying to cut down a tree with a dull saw.
Mm-hmm.
He is exhausted and frustrated, but he keeps pushing himself harder and harder.
Okay.
Finally, someone suggests he take a break and sharpen his saw.
Yeah.
At first, the lumberjack resists. He doesn't have time for that. But eventually he realizes that sharpening the saw will actually make him more efficient and effective in the long run.
It's a powerful metaphor for the importance of self-renewal, isn't it? We
Yes.
can't keep pushing ourselves
Right.
without taking time to recharge, to reconnect, to invest in our own well-being.
And Covey breaks down self-renewal into 4 key dimensions:
Okay.
physical, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual.
Okay.
The physical dimension is about taking care of our bodies through exercise, nutrition, and sleep.
Right.
The mental dimension is about stimulating our minds through learning, reading, and engaging in activities that challenge us intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
The social emotional dimension is about nurturing our relationships, cultivating empathy, and practicing emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And the spiritual dimension is about connecting with our core values,
Okay.
finding meaning and purpose, and tapping into a source of strength beyond ourselves.
So it's a holistic approach to self-care,
Yeah.
recognizing that all of these dimensions are interconnected and essential for sustained well-being.
Exactly. And it's not selfish to prioritize self-care.
Okay.
In fact, it's the most selfless thing you can do.
I like that.
When you take care of yourself, you're better equipped to show up for others,
Yes.
to contribute your gifts, and to make a positive difference in the world.
Okay. I love that reframing.
Yeah.
Self-care isn't indulgent.
Right.
It's essential for living a truly effective
Yes.
and fulfilling life.
And it's a reminder that true effectiveness is not about doing more. It's about being more. It's about aligning our actions with our values, cultivating our inner strength, and creating a life that is sustainable, joyful, and meaningful.
Wow. That's a powerful way to sum up the essence of the 7 habits.
It is powerful stuff.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have.
And I'm already feeling a shift in my thinking.
Good.
It's not just about checking off a list of habits.
Right.
It's about creating a whole new way of being in the world.
I love that.
More proactive, more purposeful, and more connected.
It's a journey, not a destination. And the beauty of it is that we don't have to do it alone.
Right.
We have each other, and we have the wisdom of Stephen Covey and countless others who have walked this path before us.
This is making me think about that concept of interdependence again.
Yeah.
How we can support and encourage each other on this journey of personal and collective growth.
And that's where the real magic happens. When we come together with a shared commitment to these principles, we create a ripple effect that extends far beyond ourselves. We create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive and to contribute their unique gifts.
I'm feeling inspired.
I love it.
But before we get carried away,
Okay.
let's take a moment to digest all of this.
Yeah.
And see how it applies to your life, dear listener.
That's right.
Which of these habits resonates with you most right now?
Good question.
What's one small step you can take today
Yeah.
to start implementing these principles into your own life?
Don't underestimate the power of small steps. Even a seemingly insignificant action can create a ripple effect that leads to profound change.
And remember, this is just the beginning of our deep dive.
That's right.
We've laid the foundation.
Yes.
But there's so much more to explore.
So much more.
We'll be back in the next part
We will.
to dive even deeper into the nuances of these habits,
Yep.
the challenges we might face, and how to apply these principles to create real and lasting change in every area of our lives.
Looking forward to it.
Stay tuned.
We'll see you then. You know, it's amazing how these 7 habits kind of build upon each other,
Yeah.
like a spiral staircase leading to greater and greater effectiveness.
I love that image.
Right.
It's not just about mastering one habit in isolation.
Right.
It's about how they all work together
Yes.
to create this more holistic
Yeah.
and integrated way of being.
Exactly. One of the things that makes Covey's work so powerful is that it addresses both the character ethic and the personality ethic.
Oh, okay.
You know, he acknowledges that like surface level techniques and charm can only take you so far. True effectiveness is rooted in character, in qualities like integrity, honesty, and a genuine desire to contribute.
So it's not about faking it till you make it,
Right.
but about becoming the kind of person
Exactly.
who naturally embodies these principles.
Precisely. It's about aligning our actions with our values, and that takes consistent effort and self-reflection.
Right.
One of the common pitfalls people fall into is thinking they can just focus on a couple of habits that resonate with them and ignore the rest.
Yeah.
But that's like trying to build a house with only half the materials.
Right.
You might be able to get something standing, but it's not going to be structurally sound.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
It highlights how neglecting even one of these habits
Yeah.
can undermine the effectiveness of the whole system.
Totally.
And speaking of neglecting things,
Uh-oh.
I have a confession to make.
Okay.
I'm pretty good at prioritizing the physical and mental dimensions of self-renewal.
Okay.
Exercise, reading, learning new things.
Mm-hmm.
But I tend to let the social, emotional, and
Yeah.
spiritual dimensions slide,
Nah.
especially when I'm busy.
It's a common challenge, and it's something Covey addresses directly.
Okay.
He emphasizes that all 4 dimensions of renewal are interconnected.
Right.
Neglecting one can throw the whole system out of balance. Think of it like a car. You need all 4 wheels to function properly.
Okay, that's a helpful visual.
Right.
So if I'm feeling burnt out or
Yeah.
disconnected,
Uh-huh.
it might be a sign that I need to check in with myself
Absolutely.
and see which area of renewal I've been neglecting.
And it's not just about addressing the symptoms.
Right.
It's about understanding the root cause.
Okay.
Maybe you've been pushing yourself too hard physically and haven't allowed yourself enough time for rest and recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you've been so focused on achieving external goals that you've neglected your inner world.
This is making me think about Covey's concept of paradigms.
Yes.
Those mental maps we use to navigate the world.
I love that analogy.
Can you explain a bit more about how our paradigms shape our experience?
Paradigms are like lenses through which we see the world. There are our assumptions, our beliefs, our interpretations of reality, and they can be incredibly powerful.
Right.
They can either empower us or limit us, depending on how accurate and helpful they are.
So if we have a limited or distorted paradigm,
Yes.
it can hold us back from seeing things clearly
Yes.
and making effective choices.
Exactly. Covey uses that classic optical illusion of the old woman and the young woman to illustrate this point.
I love that way.
Depending on your paradigm, you see one or the other, but both are present in the image.
Right.
It's a reminder that our perception is not always reality, and that being open to different perspectives can expand our understanding and open up new possibilities.
That optical illusion always blows my mind.
It's a good one, right?
It's a great example of how our paradigms can shape what we see, even when the reality is right in front of us.
And what's so powerful about Covey's work is that he encourages us to examine our paradigms and to be open to shifting them.
Okay.
He argues that if we want to make significant changes in our lives, we need to work on our fundamental beliefs and assumptions.
Right.
It's not just about changing our behavior, it's about changing the way we see things.
So it's about transforming our mental maps
Yes.
to create a more accurate and empowering view of reality.
That's the key. And this is where the concept of paradigm shifts comes in.
Okay.
Those moments when we suddenly see things differently and our whole worldview changes. Covey shares some pretty dramatic examples of paradigm shifts.
Okay.
Like Anwar Sadat choosing to make peace with Israel despite a lifetime of animosity, or Viktor Frankl finding meaning and purpose even in the horrors of a concentration camp.
Those are some incredible examples.
Right.
But paradigm shifts can also happen on a smaller scale.
Oh, for sure.
In our everyday lives, right?
Absolutely.
Like those aha moments when we suddenly see a situation or a relationship in a new light.
Those moments can be just as transformative.
Yes.
Even if they don't involve such dramatic circumstances.
Right.
It might be something as simple as realizing that a belief you've held for years is actually limiting you, or seeing a conflict with a loved one from a new perspective that allows for reconciliation.
And those shifts can be so liberating.
They can be so freeing.
They can free us from old patterns.
Yes.
And open up whole new possibilities.
Exactly. And Covey encourages us to actively seek out those paradigm shifts, to challenge our assumptions, to be open to new perspectives, and to be willing to see things differently.
Thinking about all this in the context of our own lives.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to identify our own paradigms?
Right.
Let alone shift them?
It starts with self-awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions, and ask yourself,
okay,
why do I think this way? Where did this belief come from?
Right.
Is it serving me?
Yeah.
Is it aligned with my values and my goals?
So it's about becoming more mindful of our internal dialogue.
Yes.
Stories we tell ourselves, the assumptions we make, the filters we see the world through.
Precisely. And then it's about being willing to question those stories and filters.
Okay.
Are they based on facts or on limiting beliefs? Are they helping us create the life we want, or are they holding us back?
And if we realize that a particular paradigm isn't serving us,
yes,
how do we go about shifting it?
It's a process, and it takes time and effort.
Okay.
Covey suggests several strategies, such as seeking out new experiences that challenge our current view, surrounding ourselves with people who have different perspectives, and consciously choosing to focus on new, more empowering beliefs. It's like retraining your brain to see the world in a new way.
So it's about actively creating an environment that supports the paradigm shift we want to make.
Exactly.
Exposing ourselves to new ideas, new people, and new ways of thinking.
And it's also about being patient with ourselves. Paradigm shifts don't happen overnight. It takes time for new beliefs to take root and for old patterns to fade away. It's like planting a seed. You have to nurture it, water it, and give it time to grow.
This makes me think about the concept of scripting that Covey talks about.
Oh, yeah.
How we can unconsciously script ourselves and others.
Yes.
Based on our paradigms.
It's so powerful. He argues that we often live out the scripts that have been handed to us by our family, our culture, or society at large.
Right.
And those scripts can be limiting or even destructive.
Oh?
For example, a young girl might be told repeatedly that she's not good at math. And she starts to believe it, even if she has a natural aptitude for it.
Right.
She might avoid math classes, shy away from challenging problems, and ultimately fulfill the script that was written for her.
That's heartbreaking.
It is,
Yeah.
but it also highlights the power of those scripts, whether they're positive or negative.
Right.
And the good news is that we have the power to rewrite those scripts. We can choose to challenge those limiting beliefs and create new, empowering scripts for ourselves and for others.
Covey tells that wonderful story of the poet Knight,
Yes.
who sees the beauty and potential in a woman that everyone else just dismisses.
Right.
By consistently affirming her worth
Yes.
and giving her a new empowering script, he helps her break free from her limiting beliefs
Yeah.
and create a new life.
It's a beautiful illustration of the transformative power of words and actions.
It is.
We can choose to be the script writers of our own lives and to help others write theirs.
Okay, all this talk about paradigms and scripting is fascinating.
It's juicy stuff.
But it can also feel a bit overwhelming.
It can.
What about those times when we feel stuck in a negative or limiting situation?
Right.
How can we apply Covey's principles to actually create positive change?
That's where the concept of the circle of influence becomes so crucial.
Okay.
Remember, we can't control everything, but we can always control our own actions, our attitudes, and our responses.
So even in a challenging situation,
Yeah.
there's always something we can do
There is.
to influence the outcome.
Precisely. It might not be a quick fix,
Okay.
but by focusing on what we can control, we can start to shift the dynamics and create positive momentum.
Okay.
One of the examples Covey gives is the story of a manager who is frustrated with his team's performance. Instead of blaming them or trying to micromanage them,
Right.
he focuses on building relationships, clarifying expectations, and creating a more supportive and empowering work environment.
And by shifting his own approach,
Yeah.
he creates a ripple effect
Yes.
that ultimately leads to improved performance and morale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we're not victims of our circumstances.
Right.
We always have the power to choose our response, and that response can make all the difference. It comes back to that core principle of proactivity.
Yes.
Taking responsibility for our own lives and choosing to focus on what we can influence.
That reminds me of that Gandhi quote.
Yeah.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
That's a perfect way to sum it up.
Yeah.
The 7 habits are all about becoming the change we want to see, starting from within, and then radiating that change outward into our relationships, our communities, and the world.
You know, as we're talking, I'm realizing that these 7 habits aren't just a set of individual principles.
Right.
They're like threads that weave together to create a tapestry of effectiveness and fulfillment.
Absolutely. And what's so beautiful about this framework is that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
It's a set of principles that we can adapt and apply to our own unique lives and circumstances.
So whether we're dealing with personal challenges,
Yes.
relationship issues, or professional goals,
Yeah.
these habits provide a timeless and enduring guide
Yes.
for creating positive and lasting change.
It's a journey, not a destination. There will be times when we stumble or fall short, but the key is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to live in alignment with these principles.
It's a lifelong pursuit, isn't it?
Is.
The ongoing practice of becoming our best selves
Yes.
and creating a life of meaning, purpose, and impact.
Exactly. And what's so exciting is that we don't have to do it alone.
Right.
We have each other, and we have the wisdom of Stephen Covey and countless others who have walked this path before us.
This makes me think about the concept of interdependence,
Yes.
how we can support and encourage each other on this journey.
And that's the beauty of it all. It's not just about individual success.
Right.
It's about collective growth and transformation.
Yeah.
It's about creating a world where we all have the opportunity to thrive and contribute our unique gifts.
Speaking of unique gifts,
Yeah.
this is where Habit 6 Synergize becomes so powerful, isn't it?
It is.
When we come together
Yes.
with our different perspectives and talents, we can achieve so much more
Absolutely.
than we ever could alone.
Synergy is the magic that happens when we move beyond competition and embrace collaboration.
Yes.
It's the spark of creativity, the surge of innovation, the collective wisdom that emerges when we truly value and leverage our differences.
And it's not just about coming up with new ideas.
Right.
It's about creating something entirely new and unexpected.
Totally.
Something that wouldn't have been possible without the unique contributions of each individual.
That's the essence of synergy, the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. And it's a principle that can be applied to any area of life.
Right.
From personal relationships to business ventures to global challenges.
It makes me think about the power of diverse teams.
Yes.
How different perspectives and backgrounds can lead to breakthrough solutions.
Exactly. When we bring together people with different skills, experiences, and ways of thinking,
Yes, sir.
we create a fertile ground for innovation and growth.
And it's not always easy, is it?
No, it's not.
Synergy requires a high level of trust, open
Yeah.
communication, and a willingness to let go of our own ego
Yeah.
and embrace the collective wisdom of the group.
It's a challenge, but it's also incredibly rewarding. When we experience true synergy,
Yeah.
it's like a glimpse into the boundless possibilities of human collaboration.
It's a reminder that we're not meant to go it alone.
Right.
We're meant to connect,
Yes.
to collaborate,
Uh-huh.
and to create something greater together.
And that's the essence of interdependence, the realization that we're all interconnected and that our individual well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of others.
It makes me think about the concept of Ubuntu,
Oh, yeah.
the African philosophy,
Yes.
that emphasizes our shared humanity
Mm-hmm.
and our responsibility to care for one another.
That's a beautiful concept. And it's something that Covey's work embodies as well.
Right.
The idea that true effectiveness is not just about personal success, but about creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
Okay, I have one more question before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Oh,
It's about the concept of the gap that Covey talks about,
yes.
the space between stimulus and response.
I love this concept.
Can you explain that a bit more?
This is one of the most profound concepts in Covey's work.
Okay.
He argues that we're not simply reactive beings at the mercy of our impulses and emotions.
Okay.
We have the power to choose our response to any situation.
So it's not about denying our feelings
Oh, right.
or pretending that things don't affect us,
Exactly.
but about recognizing that we have a choice
Yes.
in how we respond.
Exactly. And that choice is where our freedom lies.
Right.
In that gap between stimulus and response,
Okay.
we have the opportunity to pause,
Yep.
to reflect, and to choose a response that is aligned with our values and our goals.
And that takes practice, doesn't it?
It does, to develop that muscle of self-awareness and self-control.
To train ourselves
Yes.
to become more conscious and intentional in our responses
Yes.
rather than simply reacting on autopilot.
Exactly. And that's where true empowerment lies. In the ability to choose our response, even in challenging or difficult situations, Covey shares the example of the man who is able to maintain his composure, even when his children are misbehaving in public.
Oh, yeah?
He doesn't lash out or give in to anger, but instead chooses a response that is calm, firm, and loving.
And by doing so,
Yeah.
he not only teaches his children a valuable lesson,
Right.
but he also models the power of self-control and emotional intelligence.
It's a reminder that we're not powerless in the face of external circumstances.
Right.
We always have a choice. And that choice is what defines our character and shapes our destiny.
So it's not about suppressing our emotions or
Right.
pretending they don't exist,
Exactly.
but about harnessing their power
Yes.
and channeling them in a positive and constructive way.
Exactly. And that's the essence of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
The ability to understand and manage our own emotions and to use that understanding to navigate our interactions with others.
It's a key skill for effective leadership, isn't it?
Absolutely. Effective leaders are able to stay calm under pressure, make sound decisions, and inspire others to do their best, even in challenging circumstances.
And that all starts with mastering that gap between stimulus and response.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose, and choosing wisely.
Okay, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into the 7 habits,
Yeah,
I'm feeling a renewed sense of inspiration and possibility.
me too. Covey's work is a reminder that we have the power to create the life we want, and that it all starts from within, with our own character, our paradigms, and our choices.
And it's not a solitary pursuit.
That's not.
We have each other.
Yes.
And we have the wisdom of countless others who have walked this path before us.
That's the beauty of it all. It's a collective journey of growth, transformation, and interconnectedness.
So, dear listener, as you go forth into your own life, we encourage you to embrace the 7 habits.
Yes.
Not as a rigid set of rules,
Right.
but as a guiding compass for creating a life of meaning, purpose, and impact.
And remember, the journey is ongoing. There will be ups and downs, but the key is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
And to support and encourage each other along the way.
Absolutely.
We'll be back in the final part of our deep dive.
We will.
To explore these concepts even further.
Can't wait.
Welcome back to our deep dive, into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
It's good to be back.
It's amazing how these principles resonate with people from all walks of life, isn't it?
It really is. It's incredible they seem to transcend cultural boundaries and speak to something really fundamental within us. That desire for effectiveness, fulfillment, and meaningful connection.
It's like Covey tapped into this universal human longing.
Yes.
That need to feel like our lives matter.
Yeah.
Like we're making a difference.
Yes.
It's connected to something larger than ourselves.
Exactly. And you know what? He provides a roadmap for creating that kind of life.
Okay.
It's not like a guarantee of happiness or success.
Right.
But it is a set of principles that can guide us toward a more fulfilling and meaningful existence.
One thing that keeps coming up for me is this idea of interdependence.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to navigating conflict.
Right.
Which, let's face it, is inevitable in any relationship.
It's going to happen.
Whether it's personal or professional.
Conflict is a natural part of human interaction, but how we approach it makes all the difference.
Right.
And that's where those principles of win-win thinking, empathetic listening, and synergy become so crucial.
So instead of seeing conflict as a battle to be won or lost, we can approach it as an opportunity for growth and understanding.
Precisely. It's about shifting our mindset from like me versus you to we're in this together. Let's find a solution that works for both of us.
Covey talks about the importance of separating the person from the problem.
Yes.
Can you unpack that a bit?
Yeah. It's about recognizing that the person we're in conflict with is not the enemy.
Right.
They're a human being with their own thoughts, feelings, and needs.
Right.
And often the conflict isn't about them as a person.
Okay.
But about a specific issue or situation.
So instead of attacking the person, we can focus on addressing the problem in a way that's respectful and constructive.
Right. And that's where empathetic listening is so important.
Yes.
Being able to truly understand the other person's perspective, even if we don't agree with it.
It's about creating that safe space for open and honest communication.
Exactly.
Where both parties feel heard and respected.
Exactly. And once that foundation of trust and understanding is established, it becomes much easier to find a win-win solution.
Right.
One that addresses the issue at hand while preserving the relationship.
I'm also remembering that Covey emphasizes the importance of focusing on our circle of influence during conflict.
That's so important.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in blaming others or focusing on things outside of our control, but that only leads to frustration and powerlessness. Instead, we need to focus on what we can influence our own actions, attitudes, and responses.
So even in a conflict situation, there's always something we can do to make a positive difference.
Absolutely. It might not be easy, but by focusing on our own circle of influence, we can start to shift the dynamics and create a more constructive and collaborative environment.
It's a reminder that we're not victims of our circumstances.
Right.
We always have a choice in how we respond.
Yes.
And that choice can make all the difference.
It all circles back to that principle of proactivity.
Right.
Taking responsibility for our own lives and choosing to focus on what we can influence.
As we've been talking about conflict,
I've
been thinking about the concept of legacy.
Okay.
That idea that we all leave a legacy, whether we intend to or not.
That's a powerful concept. It's about the impact we have on others, the ripples we create in the world through our words, actions, and our very way of being.
It makes me think about the people who've had a profound impact on my life. My parents, my teachers, my mentors. They've all left an imprint on my heart and mind, shaping who I am today.
And we all have that capacity, don't we? To leave a positive legacy that inspires and uplifts others even long after we're gone.
It's not just about achieving success or accumulating wealth.
Right.
It's about making a difference in the lives of others.
Precisely. It's about leaving the world a better place than we found it through our kindness, our compassion, our creativity, and our commitment to making a positive contribution.
And that legacy doesn't have to be grand or world-changing.
Right.
It can be as simple as being a loving parent,
Yeah.
a supportive friend, or a compassionate neighbor.
Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every effort to make a difference leaves a ripple that extends far beyond ourselves.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 7 habits,
Yeah.
let's take a moment to reflect on the legacy we're creating not just for ourselves, but for the world.
I love that.
What kind of impact do we want to have on the people around us?
Yes.
What kind of world do we want to leave for future generations?
These are important questions.
These are questions worth pondering. And as we strive to live in alignment with the 7 habits, let's remember that we're not just creating a better life for ourselves, but a better world for all.
That's a beautiful vision. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's been a pleasure exploring these timeless principles with you.
It has been an honor. Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep growing.